The nature of Vidya. In the past few posts, we had seen about both Hasavidya and Rasavidya. Now we need to understand a lot of things here. Hasavidya comes from the word Hasa, which in Tamil is also very similar to the word Kasha. Kasha meaning light, because Ha and Ka are the same letter in Tamil. Hasavidya is all about light. It is observing the smile, and there is no sound here, there is no speech. This is the same that is called conventionally as Nadantam, the end of sound, soundless state. Rasavidya, on the other hand, is about love. Love comes from the heart, which is also known as Anahata Chakra. The Anahata meaning unahata or unstruck sound. This is the most primordial form of sound, which is called Para. Hence, Rasavidya is Paravidya, or the unstruck sound, the highest of sound, and Hasavidya is about light, which means in a way the black box is nothing but a converter from light to sound. Now, in that understanding, we proceed to also note a very important factor. There is a hierarchy of Vidyas, Hasavidya being right at the very top because it targets the very first of creations, which is the smile. Rasavidya comes right next after it because it targets love, again a very primordial creation. Below that, so Rasavidya and Hasavidya can be called the higher Vidyas. Below that come the middle Vidyas, of which two are prime. One is Nadavidya, which is music. Music giving you the uh, melody and you merging in the melody into silence slowly. This music is taking you to Rasavidya. There is also Shabda Vidya, which is language. At the causal level, we know is already Tamil. So, Shabda Vidya and Nada Vidya are the middle Vidyas. The lower Vidya is Vijnana, just worldly stuff. So, we talk of five kinds of Vidyas. Higher Vidyas, Hasa and Rasa. Middle Vidyas, Nada and Shabda. Lower Vidya, Vijnana. Now, we need to understand that the creation, so these Vidyas are also outlining the process of creation. But we need to understand that all of creation happens from the information realm, which is dream. Because in a dream, the mind creates using thoughts and ideas and information. So, similarly, all of creation happens from the dream perspective. That is why we say that the information or these Vidyas are derived from the creation itself. But we need to know a very important factor here. Creation has a very different way of looking at it, because when it comes to creation, it was created, these things were created even before time was created. This is different to something that you create when time exists. For example, let us say in normal world, you take a lump of clay and you create a pot out of it. You can either have the lump of clay or you can have the pot. You cannot have both. Any one exists at a point of time because the earlier one is removed to give the later one. But if creation is before time itself, then all these exist simultaneously at the same point of time. That is why today we have access to Rasavidya, Hasavidya, Nadavidya, Shabdavidya, and Vijnanavidya simultaneously. It is for us to choose. So when we decide what to choose, we look at the energy that each of it carries. Because all of creation happens at the energy level. Sound, light, information, feelings. Feelings and information are both part of the information field, which is also a kind of energy. The energy that is found of late frequently in quantum and other branches of modern physics. Either way, since all of this comes under energy, there is an energy associated with each of these vidyas. Now, the vidyas that are higher up on the list, like rasa and hasa, consequently have their energies going downward, or rather expanding into more creation. They are creative energies, or what we call Shrishtikrama. The vidyas that are lower have energies that try to take them upward, or basically towards the source, and that means towards destruction. So we call this Layakrama. So obviously, Hasa and Rasa vidyas are full of potential Shrishtikrama energies. But Vijnana, for example, is a Layakrama. Now, Rasa and Hasa vidya cannot possibly be in Layakrama because there is nothing before that for them to dissolve. Similarly, Vijnana vidya cannot possibly give Shrishtikrama because there is nothing below it to be created. Now, the vidyas that are in the middle, Shabda vidya, for example, has both Layakrama and Shrishtikrama because it has energies that can take it upward. It also has energies that can take it downward. So basically, speech has powers of construction and destruction. In Tirumala, we have already explained how Tamil alphabets, letters have created everything else. So that's the creative power. But it can also take you, like for example, when you look at a Tamil poetry or something, you merge into it, you get absorbed in it, and that possibly triggers Rasavidya. So you go into Layakrama. Now, another important thing here is Nadavidya. Nadavidya, you might expect it to have Layakrama and Shrishtikrama because it is in the middle. But there is a catch. Nadavidya, which is basically music, has been created from sound, but it has not led to any further creation. It is the end. So Nadavidya never has Shrishtikrama, it only has Layakrama. Nadavidya is the most effective way for you to target love or bhakti within yourself and reach Rasavidya. And then from Rasavidya you can go to further creativity and actions. So this is the hierarchy of the Vidyas. Now these Vidyas may be approached using either of three methods: physical, astral, or causal. The physical method is using biochemicals. So for example, every word that we usually talk about, such as Anandam or bliss, Satyam, Anb or love, all of these have biochemical equivalents. So for example, Anandam or bliss, that is commonly referred to, is nothing but the biochemical of serotonin. Satyam corresponds to the brain and the neural pathways where the information mapping and connections in the brain are properly mapped with proper target addresses. Now, the lack of Satyam usually impacts these kind of proper communications, thus making the brain cells degenerate and depreciate in function over the years. And severe asatyam leading to all of this leads to stroke or paralysis in the later years of one's life. Similarly, Anb can be mapped in a way to the good cholesterol or the healthy cholesterol, and that can be reflected in a lot of ways. For example, the nails and the fingertips of a person being red and luscious or bright pink is a sign of good Anb, whereas whitish nails means that the Anb has taken a hit. Similarly, if a person's chin or cheeks are sort of squarish in shape, that is also a sign of Anb being low. Now, this is a biochemical response, and in fact, These are the people that are targeted by the COVID pandemic. So, Anandam, as I already said, is serotonin, and this also has a biological response. For example, there are the SSRIs or selective serotonin receptor uh, inhibitors, and so on. So, by modifying these, you can observe the increase in Anandam, for example, by simply the increase in the iris of the eyes or sometimes the ears. So, all of these are biochemical and biological responses. Using this route to attain the original source of creation is the physical route or sthula. There is also the astral route, which is sukshma, where you can use this by the realm of prana or breath control. You can either control the breath directly or through visualizations and focusing. So that is the astral route or the sukshma para. Now, what happens here, in a very brief sense, is you reach the source of sound and light. Now, this information has been given by a lot of rishis and yogis and siddhas. Two main sources being the Brahma Purana and the other being a puja vidhi given by Pulipani, one of the 18 siddhas. So, in this, he has given a procedure where, very briefly, the meditation starts with the Agnya Chakra, and he maintains on Bhagavati, and there he proceeds further to visualize the four forms of Bhagavati: Bala, Sundari, Jeshta, and Para. Now, this is nothing but the Rasavidya, the sound, or the Rasavidya that we talk of as the four kinds of relations. He is mentioning as the four Devis. And then from there he says, he asks to meditate on the Malayala Patalam, which represents in a way to the top of the spine and Kundalini near the Agnya, a sort of semicircle formed between the middle of the eyeballs and the middle bridge of the nose. So that semicircle formed, and he asks us to focus on Devi and the dhyana of Devi in that part to enter the Hasavidya from Rasavidya. So that process, he says, is you, in that point after meditating, he has given a certain mantra for it, and then he says you put the Chandra, and then on top of it put the Surya, and on top of it put the Agni. Now these three represent Jeshta, Sundari, and Bala in that order respectively. And then he says, once you do all that and climb up, which is basically merging the four of Rasavidya into one single thing, and then he says the Paragyan Kesari, which is basically Narasimha, or a flash of light, will appear, blinding. It will just flash up, and that will take you to the realm of light, which is Hasavidya. And then he says, from there you can see the bright light, and you can see it revolving in all kinds of directions. You can see a lot of rishis, siddhas, munis, and all other people. So those are the people who have entered Hasavidya through the astral or the physical realms, and have merged without coming back. So all those people can be seen there. And then the Sarvatomukhi, he says, that is a flash of light which keeps on streaming out in all different directions, restarting the creation process or Punashishti, which he says is nothing but the Hasavidya or the smile, his version of the smile as light. And of course the increasing smiles or the continuum of smiles. From there he says, from there he asks us to look back at the Agnya and the stages that he crossed and recognize the sound Om in it, and then calling out the name Shiva Shiva, from which you can escape this whole thing. So basically what he says here is that the Rasavidya and Hasavidya, the visions of it in the astral path. Now, of course, the causal path we already have explained how the Shabdavidya is accessible through Tamil, Nadavidya through music, Rasavidya through the 4 kinds of relations and love, and Hasavidya through smile. So, now we have seen how the hierarchy of Vidyas are there and how to access these using the 3 paths, physical, astral and causal. One main difference we need to note here is the bases in each of these are different. One, the causal path plays with emotions, it is based on emotions. Why? Because we consider the first creation to be emotion, the bliss. Atma wants bliss and it lives in bliss, so that's an emotion. We go by the path of emotions. Now, that means the feeling of bhakti or devotion automatically comes in. In Rasavidya, Hasavidya, all of these, there's a very significant presence of bhakti or devotion. But in the astral and physical paths, this is not always required. For example, if you are just maintaining biochemical changes in your body, you don't require to any form of devotion to do it. Similarly, the astral exercises can be simply taken as a set of breathing exercises and routine exercises without any mention of devotion whatsoever. But there's a big problem with this. If these exercises are carried out without devotion, then there's no holding for you to come back. These exercises, once you see the light, once you see the source of creation, will make you merge into it, because there's no catch for you, there's no grip for you, or there's nothing pulling you back into the world to continue life after that. So that is a way of taking samadhi, and that samadhi is not in alignment with the divine purpose or the Atma's purpose, which is bliss, expressing bliss physically and playing with it. Thus, this samadhi will only take you to a stage after which you will be reborn. So, this is not a way to escape the cycle of births and deaths. But many people sadly get caught in this simply because of the lack of devotion. The causal part, on the other hand, has extreme devotion. There are other things that are different between the physical, astral, and the causal parts. First thing is impulse. Because in the physical and astral part, what do you aim for? You aim to see the original state of creation and be in the original state of creation, the source of everything, the karu or the womb of everything. Now, that means you want to change your awareness to that state. Awareness is nothing but identity. Also, there is a desire, so you are motivated by a desire to see it, to feel it, to experience it. Now, this desire and awareness or identity are impulses. We have already discussed the trinity of desire, identity, and love. So, here we note that desire and identity are impulses, they were the original impulses of creation. Here also, the awareness is an impulse. You want to be aware of that state. Also, the desire to be in that state or to know that state, it's a curiosity. So the first time it will be high, but once you experience it, the desire will just decrease back. So this is an impulsive state. Both the desire and the awareness are both impulses. What that means is that when you reach the top, it is also an impulse. That experience is an impulse, as in you see it and you come back. There is no way where you can stay there, because you chose the path of impulses, so the end result is an impulse. You will come back to your normal state. Now, in the causal route, we do not choose impulses, we choose love. Love is not an impulse because it constantly exists. Feelings of bliss and love, even if love has its beginning and ending, bliss has no beginning and no ending. So you have chosen what is before creation, before the impulses. So that means when we reach that state, since we reach using bliss, you can stay in that state for a long period of time. And that is what is called Nilayam, Ananda Nilayam, stability or long lasting in bliss. That is important because that means you can simply by Hasavidya, for example, smiling at the Vigraha, you can live in the present world, you can integrate with the current world and be very much alive in it while also maintaining the highest of consciousness and awareness simply by smiling. That advantage completely is lacking in the astral and physical paths. Second is transferability. Now, the physical path relies on biochemicals, and the astral path relies on prana, regulations, and so on, and visualizations. Now, these cannot be transferred to another person or thing easily. How do you transfer your biochemicals? How can you transfer your visualizations? You can explain your visualization, your vision to somebody, but it doesn't even guarantee that they'll have the exact same picture as you do. So these are non-transferable. However, in the causal path, emotions and love and feelings, bliss, is transferable. You can make another person happy. In fact, you can even transfer it to vigrahas. You can make a vigraha smile, or you can transfer your bliss into a vigraha, a smiling vigraha. So, expanding from 1 to 2, from you to you and somebody else, or you and the vigraha, so 1 to 2, that is Srishti. It is creation. And that is why you can come back to this world and create your own reality in this world. That is Punasrishti. However, in Layakrama, that is not possible. Simply because it is not transferable. So it doesn't go from 1 to 2, but rather it remains in 1. Or even worse, it goes from 1 to 0, where you choose to cease your own identity. Because when you are absorbed in that impulse, and without bhakti, since there is no holding or no factor to coming back, you get merged into it and you simply don't enter the world at all again. There is no Punasrishti. Consequently, that is a big problem. So, in the part of causal law, we have in Hasavidya, we have the Vigraha. So, we have a source by which we can transfer our bliss, and that Vigraha, being physical and of this world, is a path for us to come back to this world. That also is the secret to immortality or living forever in this world. As long as there is the Vigraha and it holds you in that state of bliss and it grounds you to this world, you can live forever. That is how the Siddhas have been living for ages. Changing bodies is all fine, but still continuing to live. So that is the one main difference in this. The third is simply the factor of reality. Reality in the sense the original creation is of bliss and love, and hence the causal part is the correct part. The astral and physical are simply derivatives of this that create the same impression or the same knowing or brief glimpses of the causal truth. Especially, we consider the fact here that the path given by Hasa and Rasavidya is also mirrored in the birth of a baby. Simply, when the sperm and the egg cell unite in fertilization, it has been shown that a spark of light occurs at that exact moment. That is usually attributed to the presence of zinc, but nevertheless, this is a spark of light. This is nothing but Hasavidya, the first creation, the first bliss, the first light. Then, it is only after about 90 days that the gender differentiation begins to appear in the baby. So, that is the starting of Rasavidya, because Rasavidya talks about orientations and the 4 kinds of relations and everything like that. So, between this time, the 90 days from the fertilization to the 90th day, is the black box between Hasa and Rasavidya. So, that is what we note here. We further note that the astral and physical are thus derivatives or impressions created from the original source, which is the causal part. Finally, we note that the causal part is connected with Drishti Srishti, or the fact that the world was created right today, right here, right now as a dream, and there is no history to it. There's no prior history, there's no prior future to it. It is just today, right here, right now. However, the astral and physical requires you to work on a body and maintain a state of continuity and progress, which might take more than a day and violating Drishti Srishti. So that is why possible only with Krama Srishti. The problem being that such processes take a large amount of time to execute and finish. Finally, we discuss about the form of Venkatesha and how the Vidyas, the higher Vidyas, are seen in this particular form. One way of looking at this form, only till the bust level, is simply to note the fact that the crown of Venkatesha, the tip of the crown, represents a soliton. Now, this is nothing but the original impulse, the original source of all creation. Then, coming down, you see his smile. That smile in his mouth is Hasavidya. The Shankha and Chakra denote Rasavidya. What does that mean? The Shankha is all about space, because a small blowhole in a small bit of space is expanded into a very large resonant volume of space. So this represents the four directions of Meru. The chakra, on the other hand, simply represents the Kala chakra of Arur. So the Meru and Arur of Rasavidya are the Shankhan chakra, and the Vairur of Hasavidya is the smile. Interestingly, we also note the fact here that the black box between Hasa and Rasa are nothing but his earrings, the Makara Kundala. The Makara Kundala, at this point, the Makara has to be understood as a crocodile-like creature with an elephant-shaped face. The elephant is, of course, an indication of Lord Ganesha himself. And what is that supposed to mean? The black box here and the elephant symbolism here can be understood in a very different light. The Makara Kundala are generally earrings which are worn without piercing the ear and are just attached on the ear directly. They, because of their weight, try to pull the ear down. In fact, this is the same that we do even in the temples for Ganesha, where we cross our hands and catch hold of the ears, opposite ears, and pull them down as an exercise of sit-ups. So this, what happens is, this action of pulling down the ear has been shown biologically to have an effect of uniting both the hemispheres of the brain, the left half and the right half, which, as we all know, symbolize logic and intellect on the one hand, intuition and emotions on the other hand. So the black box in that way can be understood as a merging of both these halves of the brain, and or in general of logic and intuition, or rather connection of order and chaos, because obviously it connects from order to chaos, order being Hasa and chaos being Rasa. Another way of looking at it is the merging of Nara and Jyoti, or rather Rasa and Hasa, together is known as Narsimha or Simha. That's how it's symbolized. Now, Simha as a word is simply got by reversing the letters in the word Hamsa. Now, Hamsa must be understood as a Laikrama because it involves the breath. Simha, on the other hand, is a Shishtikrama. Of course, astrally also, whether you use the breath or you use the visualizations, decides whether you finally merge into Samadhi and never coming back, or you come back after the brief impulse of realization. In the causal path, there is no Hamsa, there is only Simha. So we understand that reality is about destruction of Hamsa and encouraging of Simha. In Tamil, again, we know that Ha is written as Ka. So Kamsa is nothing but Hamsa. And when Krishna kills Kamsa, that simply means he has destroyed the Laikrama and he has brought back Shishtikrama or Simha. So this is the form of Venkatesha if you connect it with the higher two Vidyas, However, we have toned it even further down, and we have demonstrated how Hasavidya alone can be performed using three simple commandments. Arul, to surrender. Vairul, any disturbance, look at God, smile, and engage in it. Merul, use the colors for confirmations. So, in that sense, Hasavidya, at its purest, can also be seen in the form of Venkatesha. Simply the smile of Venkatesha is the Vairur commandment. The Shankha is the Merur commandment because of the four directions, four colors. And the Chakra is the Arur commandment. So, in that way, you can simply see the entire form of Hasavidya in Venkateshwara itself. That is another way of looking at it. So, in that way, we have demonstrated the nature of Vidyas. Another important factor, the last as a concluding remark, let us consider here that Venkateshwara does not encourage physical and astral paths as much as the causal. Simply here, we look at the fact that Narasimha is known as Kesari. In Tamil, Keshari is also seen as one more thing. Kesha Ari, the enemy of hair. And that is true because those who go to Tirumala shave their heads. He says if you take a physical path, the path of biology and biochemistry, your hair will be shaven. He says if you take the astral path, your mind will be blank. People have reported that in the sanctum of Tirumala Tirupati, their mind simply goes blank. So he does not encourage the astral path as well. The causal path, if you take the path of feelings and emotions, then he blesses you with Ananda Nilayam, Nilay or stability of Ananda. So clearly, he discourages physical and astral paths while completely encouraging and rewarding the causal path. This is the nature of Vidyas.